You're lying in bed, drifting off to sleep, completely relaxed. And then, out of nowhere, your entire body jolts violently awake, like you just fell off a cliff. Your heart is racing, your eyes snap open, and there's absolutely nothing there. This has happened to almost everyone at some point, and it happens without any warning, without any obvious trigger, seemingly for no reason at all. So what's actually going on inside your brain in that exact moment? Why does your body react as if you're falling when you're safely lying still in bed? The answer involves ancient survival wiring, a confused brain transition, and a theory that connects this strange jolt directly back to our evolutionary past. What makes this experience so unsettling is just how convincing it feels in the moment. For that split second, your body genuinely believes something dangerous is happening, even though you're perfectly safe, lying still in a warm, familiar bed. Your conscious mind knows nothing is wrong, yet your body reacts with the exact same urgency as a real emergency. This phenomenon has an official name, a hypnic jerk, also sometimes called a sleep start. It's an involuntary muscle contraction that happens during the transition from being awake to falling asleep, and it's remarkably common. Research suggests a large percentage of people experience this at least occasionally, and many people experience it regularly without ever fully understanding why. To understand what's happening, you first need to understand what your brain and body are actually doing as you fall asleep. As you relax and begin drifting off, your brain slows down significantly. Your muscles gradually relax. Your breathing slows. Your heart rate drops. Essentially, your entire body is powering down, preparing to shift into a completely different physiological state. But this transition isn't always smooth. Sometimes, as your brain shifts from an active, conscious state into early sleep, signals can become slightly crossed or mistimed. Your brain may misinterpret the sudden muscle relaxation, and specifically the slowing of your heart rate and breathing, as a sign that something is actually wrong, rather than simply recognizing it as the normal beginning of sleep. One leading theory suggests that ancient primates, our evolutionary ancestors, often slept in trees to stay safe from ground predators. If their muscles relaxed too much while sleeping in a tree branch, there was a very real, very dangerous risk of literally falling out of the tree. According to this theory, the hypnic jerk may be a leftover survival mechanism, an ancient alarm system built directly into our nervous system. As muscles begin to relax during the transition into sleep, the brain interprets this relaxation as an actual fall in progress and triggers a sudden powerful muscle contraction to catch yourself, jolting your body awake just in case you're really about to fall. In other words, your brain might be running emergency software that was written millions of years ago for tree-dwelling ancestors, software that never got updated even after humans stopped sleeping in trees entirely. Think about how strange this actually is. Modern humans haven't slept in trees for an enormous span of evolutionary time, and yet this specific reflex has persisted, quietly embedded in our nervous system across countless generations, waiting for a trigger that hasn't been genuinely relevant in hundreds of thousands of years. This would explain why the jerk so often comes paired with a falling sensation or an accompanying dream fragment about tripping or falling, almost as though your brain quickly generates a falling scenario to match the physical reaction that just happened, rather than the other way around. Not everyone agrees this evolutionary explanation is the complete picture, though. Some researchers point to more immediate physiological explanations as well. As your brain transitions into sleep, certain neural pathways controlling muscle tone can genuinely misfire during this delicate handoff between wakefulness and unconsciousness. Rather than being purely about ancient tree-dwelling ancestors, some scientists view hypnic jerks simply as a normal, if slightly glitchy side effect of how complex the sleep transition process actually is. Certain factors do appear to make hypnic jerks more likely to happen. Caffeine and stimulant use, especially later in the day, can increase how frequently people experience them. High stress levels and anxiety also seem to make hypnic jerks more common, potentially because a heightened stress response keeps your nervous system slightly more alert and reactive. even as you're trying to relax into sleep. Physical exhaustion combined with irregular sleep schedules may also play a role. When your body is overtired but your sleep-wake cycle is disrupted, the transition into sleep can become less smooth, potentially increasing the chances of these sudden jolts occurring. Sleeping in an unfamiliar position or falling asleep somewhere other than your usual bed may also slightly increase the likelihood of experiencing a hypnic jerk, possibly because your brain is receiving slightly different sensory information than it's used to during this already delicate transition period. Interestingly, hypnic jerks appear to happen specifically during a very particular stage of falling asleep, right at the border between being awake and entering the very first, lightest stage of sleep. This is a genuinely unstable transitional period for your brain, and it makes sense that a misfire or crossed signal would be more likely to happen during this brief, unstable window rather than during deep, stable sleep itself. For the vast majority of people, hypnic jerks are completely harmless, just a strange, startling, but ultimately normal part of how the human brain and body transition into rest. They aren't typically considered a sign of any underlying medical condition on their own, though extremely frequent or severe episodes are sometimes worth mentioning to a doctor simply to rule out other less common causes. What's genuinely fascinating is how this split-second experience, one that most people simply shrug off and go back to sleep after, may actually be a tiny surviving fragment of a much older world. A brief moment where your nervous system briefly behaves as though you're still sleeping in a tree, hundreds of thousands of years removed from any tree at all. It's a strange kind of proof that evolution doesn't always update its programming quickly or ever fully abandon systems that once mattered immensely, even long after the specific danger they were designed for has disappeared entirely from human life. There's something almost humbling about that thought, that a piece of your ancestors' daily survival reality is still quietly encoded in your nervous system, resurfacing for a split second almost every time you drift off to sleep, completely unnoticed until you actually stop and think about what's really happening. So the next time you jolt awake, right as you're falling asleep, heart pounding for a split second, know that you may be experiencing a genuine echo of your ancestors, a brief involuntary reminder of a time when falling asleep in the wrong place really could mean falling to your death. If this has ever happened to you, let us know in the comments what it felt like and whether you remember a falling dream right before it happened. And if you want more surprising truths about how your brain and body actually work, hit subscribe for more, because the human body is full of strange leftover instincts, just like this one, hiding in the most ordinary moments of everyday life.